Nightmare, bitch.
I actually wrote everything down because it's nice to be prepared, you know? 2 years ago, I made a top 10 favorite horror movies. I know, I can't believe I've been here for this long. But because it's been so long, and also because I've seen more movies since then, and also because I can't help but be human and have the right to change my opinion from time to time, I thought now would be the perfect time to update my list. So let's get to it. The first one that I want to talk about has always been in my top 10, but I don't think has been in my top 5. I might be wrong. I forget. Either way, number 5 goes to 1973's The Exorcist. I will never forget watching this movie for the first time. Growing up in a very strict religious home, I was taught and made to believe that things like this are real and should be taken very seriously. Everything that went on in this movie inside that specific bedroom always felt real to me when I watched it. And the fact that it's a little girl just made it worse. Like most of the best classic horror movies, I think the best thing about The Exorcist is the practical effects, the special effects. Because if the possession or the exorcist does not feel real, then the rest of the film is just gonna fall apart. From the house to the bedroom, from the bed to the girl herself. I just feel like everything in the movie is perfectly put together, and that's one of the things that makes it so timeless. Everything that goes on in that room, from the walls cracking to the bed floating, from her body doing disturbing things, from the girl herself saying disgusting things. The room that I watched it in for the first time wasn't cold, but the fact that the priest himself was freezing to death sent chills down my spine. I know it's a really old movie, but if for some strange reason you have yet to watch The Exorcist, please do so. I highly, highly recommend it.
You know what she did? Your canting daughter?
Number 4 goes to one of the best remakes ever. One that will soon become one of the most rewatchable horror movies here at the Guerra House. Actually, it might be already. The Evil Dead is the type of remake that more horror fans need. If you've seen the original Evil Dead, and for some strange, bizarre reason you didn't enjoy it, I beg you to watch the remake. The original, which was created by Sam Raimi, I wouldn't really consider a horror. It's more of a comedy. It's campy, it's cheesy, it's ridiculous. And of course, because it's a Sam Raimi film, it's disgusting. But the remake is unlike the original, which is like a comedy horror. This new one is no combination of two genres. It's just horror. It's strictly gore. It's brutal, it's bloody, and my god, is it beautiful. It's the type of horror remake that will make any horror fan happy. Or at least it made me happy. The acting is pretty good. The directing is great. There is some dark humor, but it's mostly just gore. Brutal, bloody, disgusting gore. And I love it.
Face on this motherfucker!
Number 3 goes to a movie that completely blew me away whenever I first watched it, and it still does. And of course, a lot of you guys already know, I'm talking about It Follows. There are so many fan theories behind this film, and of course, I'm gonna self-promote here for a little bit. I did make a video where I completely tear this movie apart and share my opinions about what I believe it means and how I feel about it. And if you haven't seen that, I'll put the link down below, and there might be a card that you can click on somewhere up here. As much as I am obsessed with gore, this movie has none. And that just goes to show that jump scares and disgusting gore isn't always what makes a good horror movie. It's all about the tone and feel of this movie that creates so much tension. There's just a lot of suspense that makes the film creepy and eerie and just chilling to watch. Even when you know it is right behind the character that you're currently watching, you still feel that suspense. There's no loud moment. There's no jump scare. There's no surprise. You see it behind the character, walking slowly towards them, and you're still terrified for them. And just to make things better, the movie also has a wonderful retro feel to it that pays respect to the classic horror movies. As much as I love gore and disgusting movies, It Follows is the type of horror movie that I absolutely love and I think we need more of, because I think it's something special. And I watch it a lot more than most of the movies that I own, and I simply can't get enough of it. And if you haven't seen it, check it out. And speaking of retro classic horror movies, number 2 is mostly based on nostalgia. Nightmare on Elm Street completely changed my life as a teen. I wasn't allowed to watch scary movies growing up. I think I've mentioned this many times before. I knew who Freddy Krueger and other horror villains were. I just never really got around to watching it. I was in my mid-teens whenever I did finally get to watch it, and watching it for the first time was an amazing, horrific experience, okay? The whole movie scared me. Like, it legit really did scare me, okay? Which doesn't happen often. The character of Freddy, I've always thought, is complete genius because the possibilities are endless. That's one of the things that I love, not just about the first one, but the whole entire franchise. First of all, how disgusting Freddy is. And of course, how creative all of his killings are. The idea of these teens not being safe anywhere, not in their home, not in their dreams, not when they're awake, not with anyone or anything, is terrifying. I've seen the first one and the rest of the franchise countless times, and as a fan of the Nightmare on Elm Street series, I will admit that it doesn't always hold up. It does get cheesy at times, and there is some acting that is completely horrible, but it does have a horror-like charm that will forever hold up and is the reason why it will forever be one of my favorites. And I can't stress over how brilliant the practical effects are. Because the killings for Freddy Krueger have to be so creative, the practical effects have to be creative also. And that's one thing that I have always loved about the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And the first one will always be my favorite out of all of them because it's the only one that actually scared me. The rest of them are they're fun, you know, they're fun and disgusting. It's brilliant, and I think you should watch it if you haven't already. And if you have, just go watch it again because it's great. And last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, my favorite film of all time is The Descent. Most of you already know that because I mention it all the fucking time. It's perfect. It's great. It literally has everything that a horror movie needs. Shit. You have great characters who actually have a very interesting backstory in a very interesting situation. Like most horror movies, things don't happen for the sake of happening. These girls are there for a reason, and the decisions that they make are for a reason. I love the fact that there isn't just conflict with the creatures inside the cave, but there's already conflict and drama between the girls before they even get down there. And that just creates more tension throughout the whole entire film. Not only are the creatures in the cave a villain, but the cave itself is also a villain. Because watching this movie for the first time, I'm already getting terrified for these girls before the creatures ever show up. It is a simple story, but it just feels like everything falls perfectly into place because we know these girls and we get to see the changes that they have to make throughout the film. And I think it goes without saying that the fact that it's an all-female cast, I thought was great. It's such a brilliant idea because we don't see much of that. And not only is it suspenseful, but it's bloody disgusting, which means I win either way. I could talk about this movie some more and break it down for you, but guess what? I already did it in another video. And if you haven't seen that video, link will be down below, and there will also be a card somewhere, I forget which side it's on. That's it, you guys. Those are my top 5 favorite movies of all time as of right now. I'm sure I'll change my mind and update it eventually. Of course, let me know what you think of this list. Let me know if you agree with me. I don't want to know if you disagree because you're just gonna hurt my feelings. And of course, also let me know what your favorite horror movie is. As always, thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you very much for liking and subscribing. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Thank you for watching Gary Movie House. Like, comment, and subscribe for my videos. Peace out, homies.